Hi, and welcome to How to Draw Blitz Cartoons. I'm Bruce Blitz, and together you and I are going to explore the fantastic, fun world of drawing cartoons. Now in this course we're going to deal with the basics of drawing cartoons. We'll take it step by step, and soon you'll be creating your own little cartoon characters in your own cartoon world. Where, by the way, you're the boss. You decide everything. You design the character, set up the situation or gag, select his supporting cast of characters, pick the props, camera angle, location, everything. All you need is a pencil, some paper, and a little imagination. So sit back and relax, and just let your mind go, because anything is possible in cartoons. And what is a cartoon? A cartoon, by definition, is a funny drawing expressing a funny idea. I'll show you what I mean. We have here a funny drawing, and it could stand by itself, but if we add just one more element to this drawing, we can make it expressing a funny idea. Let's do it. Put some eyes here. Mouth. I think you're ahead of me. You might already know what I have in mind. Tongue. Now, it could even stand by itself now, but let's add one more thing to it. A caption. Throw some quick color into it. Some red for the tongue. And there you have it. Next, let's talk a little bit about what you're going to need in the way of art supplies to get started. Now, I've got some good news for you because it's not going to cost you much. All you'll need to get started is a pencil, some paper, and an eraser. First, the pencil. I like the pencils with the softer leads best. However, a good old number 2 school pencil will work fine. Now, as for paper, you're going to use a lot while learning, so buy the most inexpensive paper you can, like a ream of bond paper or a pad of newsprint. Now, any eraser will do, although I prefer what is called a kneaded rubber eraser because it can be shaped to get into those hard-to-reach places, and best of all, it doesn't leave crumbs. Okay, once you've laid out your cartoon in pencil, you might want to go over it with a black felt tip marker to bring out the cartoon lines, make them more defined. Now, the selection is vast, so I suggest you go to the art store and experiment as to which one you like best. Now, I'm going to be working rather large here today, so I'm using a pretty thick point. Now, you ready? All right, let's get started. First, let's take a look at some cartoon heads. To actually begin drawing a cartoon head, we're going to start with a shape. Now, I want you to notice how I make this shape. By loosely moving my hand around before I even touch down, getting the feel, and then lowering it to the paper. And then I have a loosely drawn shape. You don't want to start drawing like this, doing one of these, because it's going to get real contrived looking, and that's not what you want. Okay, now we're going to loosely sketch in some guidelines. Now, using these guidelines, we're going to put in the features. First, the eyes, which is nothing more than a curve and 2 little dots. Some eyebrows. Now the nose, which I like to put underneath the eyes. Then the mouth. I'm going to make that a wavy line, make it funny, with the tongue coming out. 2 ears, 1 on each side. And we're going to go over the chin with a little blacker of a line there. So now the hair. Now again, be loose because you want to get that spontaneous look to your work by making these little squiggly lines. Get your whole wrist into it. Boom. Like that. a little neck, and that's basically it. That's all there is to it. How did yours come out, okay? All right, now let's do it again. Only this time we're going to make it a little bit different. First, we're going to start with that shape. And now when we put the guidelines in, we're going to think of that shape as an egg, a three-dimensional object. So when we put the lines in, and we're going to put them a little bit to the left, we would have to be curving that line like this, because it has roundness. Imagine an egg or a balloon. Now the other line, same thing. Now using these lines again as guidelines, let's put in the features. First the eyes, some eyebrows, a nose, the mouth. Now this time we only see one ear, because if his head is turned, his other ear wouldn't be visible. Let's define the chin again. Some squiggly hair. And there you have it. That's all there is to it. Let's put a neck on him, maybe a bow tie. Okay. If we would have done two shapes like this and put those lines up top like this, and this one down here like that, we could have made him looking up, his nose, or down. That's how you draw cartoon heads facing different ways. Think of it as a balloon or an egg. Put your lines in, then go back over it and put your features in. Now we've shown you how to draw the same character facing in different directions. But to change that character, we go to our next lesson, which is features and expressions. In order to vary the cartoon head, we have to vary the shape that we start with, change the guidelines, and the features. Now let's do one here. Let's make this one a long, thin one, like that. Let's make a short, squat one over here. Okay, now let's go put the guidelines in. First the vertical one. This time we're looking straight at the character. Now let's put this guideline in towards the top of the head. This time let's put it down in the lower half. Okay, let's go back over it now using this as guidelines and put the eyes in. This time instead of making two circles, let's make two lines, making one a little bit different. By varying them, it makes it a little funnier. Okay, let's put a nose in, a long, thin nose this time. And let's put the mouth down here instead of so close to the nose. Let's make a little squiggly line like that. Little ears. And for the hair, let's make them bald except for a little bit on the side. A couple little funny hairs up top. And let's blacken the chin line a little bit. There, we've got one character there. Now let's do a little short, fat guy over here. Okay, we've got a funny little stubby nose. Mouth. Let's put glasses on him. One eye up here, one eye down there. The glasses resting on the ears. This time let's give him wavy hair. Some eyebrows. Chin line. And then neck. Let's put some eyebrows on this fellow too. Okay. And you see, by varying the shapes that we started with, the guidelines, and drawing the features in differently, we've come up with two different characters. Did you ever wonder how, with all the millions of people there are in this world, how we can all look different? I mean, we all have the same features. We all have eyes, nose, mouth, and ears, yet we all look different. Well, the answer is it's because the size and relationship to each other that make us all look different. It's the same with cartoon heads. Now, a good way to practice cartoon heads would be to get your piece of paper and draw about 25 circles on them, different shapes, throw the guidelines in differently, and try to make all 25 heads look different. That would be a good exercise. Now let's do it again. Let's this time start with a squiggly shape instead of an oval or a circle. There's one. Now let's do like a triangular shape. Okay. Let's put the nose down here this time, and let's make it a little small nose like that. And let's put a mouth. Let's put a mustache on him this time. A mouth, a smiling mouth with teeth. Let's put some eyes in. Let's see. Some pretty large eyes. Looking off to the right. Some eyebrows. Some ears. Now for the hair, let's a little hair coming out underneath the ear. Blacken that line in. And the neck. Over here, let's make a girl's face. Let's put a small nose in. Put the lines of eyes over there. Let's have her eyelids closed. With a heavy line there like she's wearing mascara, some eyelashes, thin eyebrows. Now if you notice here, I drew the eyes and I left a little bit of white space in each eye, sort of giving the impression that there's the shine, the highlight. Now let's give her a smile. Let's put some lipstick on her. Round cheeks. Let's go over the chin line. Now for the hair, let's give her a big bushy head of hair. Let's give her a neck. Let's give her some beads. Earrings. And there you have it. Now for some expressions. And this is what will breathe life into your drawings. This is what makes your cartoons appear to think. Now we're going to start with anger. Remember, start with a shape. Let's put a nose there. Now, if someone's angry, what happens to their face? Their mouth would be in a frown and the teeth would be showing. The lip would be out. So let's make the teeth in, clenched. And here's your ear and the eyes as before. But now watch what just the eyebrows facing down like that does. And let's give them some hair. Now I'm going to introduce here what I call cartoon accessories and effects. Let's blacken his chin in. Now what we do here is to make him look angry, that's angry. But now watch, if we just put a little sweat coming out of him, look how much more angry he appears. Even some of these lines make it look like he's steaming mad. That is anger. Okay, let's do another one. Let's have this time the fella hilarious. Let's start with a shape. This time let's do a triangular shape. Okay. Now if someone's hilarious, have the nose like that first, and the mouth would be in a big smiling shape like that, real big smile, like that. Teeth definitely showing. Tongue way out. Now this would all be painted black because it's inside the mouth and it would be dark. Let's clean up this line around the tongue. And the eyes would be squinted. Eyebrows down, little ears, little squiggly hairlines. And again, for some cartoon accessories and effects, I think the sweat would go again. Maybe his head would be shaking from laughing so hard, so let's put some of these lines in. And there you have it. A good way to practice expressions would be to sit in front of a mirror. Just look at your face, make these expressions, and then transfer your expressions onto the paper into cartoon-style lines. Okay, let's do a different expression now. How about suspicion? Now, I do want to say to you here that when you come up with expressions that you know you have to draw, think it through. What might happen to someone's face when they're suspicious? Like, let's start with our shape. Let's give them a nose. Let's give them facing this way. When someone's suspicious, they might be peeking out the side of their eyes, like eyebrows. One be down, sort of pondering, and the other one up. The mouth like this, not so sure, so he's sort of not happy about it. One ear over here, one ear over here. Let's give him a crew cut. Some dots for some stubbly hair. Now for some cartoon effects. If he was suspicious of somebody, he might have real quickly turned his head. And by doing that, we sort of get that impression. And if he's looking at something over here, we can indicate that by little dotted lines, like he turned and looked. And that would be suspicion. Let's do another one. Let's have someone crying hysterically. Okay, circle. Here's a nose. The mouth is in a frowning thing, and as before, the lip is out and the teeth are showing. Tongue. This would all be blackened in because it's the inside of the mouth. Now I want to say here that you're going to find that when you're drawing expressions, a lot of times you're going to find them overlapping. Like the mouth might be the same in crying and anger, but it might be one little subtlety like the eyes or the cartoon effects and accessories that we spoke about that will change the whole thing. So let's put some ears up here, one there, and his eyes will be closed, and his eyebrows, instead of down, making him angry, he's crying, so his eyebrows will be up, sort of in a pitiful type way. Now for the cartoon accessories, let's blacken in the chin first, and the side of his face. Let's give him some hair. Okay, some sweat and some tears. How about a word like this to make it all work? So you can do things in cartoons that you can't do in other forms of art, like adding that you could never do in an oil painting. Okay, let's do a different one. How about stunned? How would a stunned person look? Okay, let's start with the shape. Let's put a nose in. Let's put a nose like that with one nostril in. Now for the eyes, let's do something new. How about just a swirled, like no pupils or anything. Eyebrows, one up here, up there. Mouth, nothing more than a little line like that. Ears. Let's blacken this. Now, let's have his hair staying straight up in the air like that. Okay, now for some effects. You can get a lot of mileage out of these sweat drawings. Okay, now some lines like this indicate that maybe he heard a loud noise or was hit over the head with a brick or something like that. But then we have stunned. Let's do fright. That's a great one to do. Okay, let's start with our shape, like that. Let's give him a nose over there. This will be a side view. Again, the mouth will be in the opposite of a smile. A lot of teeth showing on this one. Even the bottom teeth will be out on this one. And the tongue right in there. Let's blacken that in, because that's inside. Teeth, bottom teeth, top teeth. Okay, now let's put the ear in. Now, what's going to make this whole expression work are the eyes. You don't want to have them closed. You don't want to have them half closed. You want to have them wide open. So let's draw circles. One circle. And then the other circle, which will be a little bit behind that eye, you only see part of that circle. So like that. Now, for the pupils, to make this fright really work, to make it as funny as possible, you make a small, small dot. Eyebrows way up. Hair definitely standing straight up. Again, some sweat. And some vibrations to the eyeballs. Boom. Some more sweat. Oh, that guy, he's scared. Okay. Try a few. Look in the mirror. Come up with some expressions. And make sure you observe people wherever you go, because this too can sharpen your skills. Okay, now for some more cartoon effects and accessories. We have a lady here looking into a mirror. Now to make that look more like a mirror, a glass mirror, all we do is make a couple diagonal lines together. Now watch. Right over the drawing. Don't worry about it. Two together. Maybe one more over there. That sort of adds a reflection. So she's looking into a mirror. Now that's one way to make glass. You can do the same thing with a puddle. If you had a shape drawn and you added a couple lines, it would sort of give the reflection effect. Okay, let's move down to this one. We've got here a fella here who could just have been hit by a brick. Now how would we indicate that? To show motion, we're going to have the brick coming in from here, like that. Again, be loose. Now at point of impact, let's put a sound effect. How about bunk, my favorite. And let's put a little splash like that, so it looks like he just got hit in the head. Now the brick's going to continue on this way. Let's draw the brick now, which is nothing more than a rectangle. Now that's the brick. Let's take a little red pencil and make that look more like a brick. And there you have it. Now if you wanted to go over that with a little color, you can just sort of take the same lines and add to it, and maybe even take a marker and do this to really look like it hit him in the head. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we have here a fellow who is shocked, amazed. Okay, what do we add to him? Just like before, we add some sweat and some vibrations to the eyeballs. But now what really is going to make this, now notice up here, if he was really that shocked, his hat might have flown off his head. So let's draw his hat. A baseball hat. And here's his brim. Now, again, some motion lines indicating some speed or action. And a couple of these lines to make the hat sort of look like where it's been. And that makes it just fly right off his head. So now if we add a little color to this, let's give him a blue hat. And that works great. Okay, let's move down to the next sketch here. We have a fellow who just swung a golf club. Now that sketch by itself doesn't really have too much motion to it, but if we again add that point of impact, let's add the sound effect too. How about my second favorite, thwack. Okay, spelled T-H-W-A-C-K is the proper spelling of thwack. Okay, and some splash lines like that. Now the golf club, when it started here and continued all the way around, because if you're a golfer, you know you have to have a follow through. So let's do this. And all the way around. A couple lines like that. Some more sweat. I like to juice up my pictures, as you may see. Okay. Put a little red. And again, you can add some lines like that to make it look that much more powerful. Let's do another one. Okay, now we have a fella here who's very cold. And how would we show he's cold? Now, as in before, we wanted to show some motion. We just put some vibration lines. But if he's cold, he might be shaking. So you make the lines appear to shake on each side. And out of his mouth might come a little bit of steam, or smoke in this case, like this. Smoke is drawn just like we did before on the running pose. And this fellow's cold. Okay, down here we have a pot boiling. Now to show a pot boiling, we could do a couple things to it. We could add these wavy lines like it's steam coming out. Maybe double that, just go over the same one, and because your pen won't actually go over the same lines, even if you tried, you'll sort of get that nice flow to it, double line flow. Now what else might happen? Okay, if it's boiling, you might be a little bit of water coming out, like that. What else might happen to it? Bubbles. So you put up just a couple of little bubbles like that. Now just like there are so many different styles and techniques to drawing the cartoon head, the same thing holds true for this next segment, cartoon bodies. First we're going to start with a standing pose, and then we'll move on to some action poses. Okay? First is standing. Now we're going to start in much the same way as we did cartoon heads. We're going to start with shapes. First, a shape for the head. And we're going to make this fella waving. Now we're going to put another shape in for what will be the torso. There you go. Now we're just going to loosely draw some lines that are going to indicate arms, legs, some shapes for hands, feet. Now we're going to go back over this using these guidelines and fill in some details. Now we already know how to draw the cartoon head, so let's put in a nose, mouth, some teeth, ears, a face, okay, now here we go with the body. Now I want to say here, don't panic. We're going to take it body part by body part, and we're going to build on it. The neck. Now we're going to draw the arm. Now when I say the arm, let's think about that. What does that take in? It starts with the shoulder, down to the elbow. The same thing on the other side. Now the hand. Now let's make him having just a fist. Okay, now let's do the same thing over here. Shoulder, elbow, and up. Now let's make him waving. Okay, now let's go back and put in a little bit of detail. Let's give him a shirt sleeve and a collar. Now as far as the body goes, the rest of the torso here, let's put in a line that's going to indicate his waist, which would be his belt, about here. Now let's make this a little more definite. Now we're just going to thicken up these two lines and make it pants. There you have it. Now for the shoes. That's it. A little shadowing. Some cartoon accessories. We have a fellow waving. That's all there is to it. Now the shapes are going to dictate to you what proportions the figure is going to turn out to be. If we had used a much rounder shape, he would have been a fatter fellow with shorter lines here. Would have made him have shorter legs, and it would have been more of a squat type figure. Okay, let's do it again. This time let's do a woman. Start with the shape. Now for another shape for the body. This time let's make it a little thinner, like that. And I want to say here also that these guidelines that I'm using might appear to be a little bit darker when we go over it again, but that's just because I'm trying to illustrate to you what we're doing. Okay, now some lines for the feet, shape. Let's put our hands on our hips, like this. Okay, now let's go back over it. Now I'm going to use the darker pencil here, hopefully be that much darker. Okay, now let's do her face. Let's make her mad. Eyes, eyebrows down, remember? Give her a little nose. Let's make her gritting her teeth. Off to the side like that. Let's give her some bushy hair. Okay, now let's give her a chin. Let's give her some earrings. Okay, and we've got her face in there. Now let's draw the rest of it. Go back over the neck. And again, let's start with the shoulders, down to the elbow, down. Let's give it some thickness. Let's have her on her hands on her hips like that. And the same thing over here. Again, those guidelines are just that. They're guidelines. They're not so rigid where you can't vary a little bit. They're just to give you an indication of where you're supposed to be. Now let's give her some sleeves. Now this is clothing, so let's make it a little bit loose. Comes to about there. Okay, now her waist. Her hands are on her hips, so her waist is about here. Give her a belt line, bust. Now we're going to make her skirt with her hips. Now remember, if this is her waist, we're going to flare out, showing the hips, right to her knees. Same thing here. Now if this is to her knees, all we have to draw here is her calves, like this. These little lines here show the kneecaps. Okay, now let's make her feet, one that way, one that way, a little shadow on the bottom. Fill this in like she's wearing slippers. Okay, now let's fix her hair. Now if she's mad, add some cartoon accessories, some steam coming out of her. Okay, the first action pose we'll draw will be a guy running. Okay? Now, if a guy's running, what will be happening to him? He'd be leaning forward, his arms might be stretched out like this, and he might be happy, he might be thinking he's winning the race or something. So let's start the same way we usually do, with a shape. Here's his head. Now, if we said he was leaning forward, let's sort of indicate that with a quick action line like this. Okay, same thing with his body. Let's put a shape in. Now his arms will be forward. I said stretch forward. Hands right there. For his legs, one would be all the way out there. The other one would be all the way behind him, because he's really leaning forward into this race. Okay, now let's go back over it and put some details in. Okay, first his facial expression. As I said, he'd be happy he's maybe winning the race, so let's make him smiling. His eyes wide open. He can smell success. Eyebrows up. Ear. Now his hair. If he's running, his hair would be flying backwards, right? Okay, here's his chin. Back, a little bit more hair. Okay, now, again, start with it, shoulder, elbow, again, okay, sleeve, same thing over here. Now for his hand, this hand, there are the fingers stretched out, reaching. We can see a little bit of his other hand, so again, some fingers. Okay, now his body, he's leaning forward, so we have his back arched, front. Now let's put in a line that indicates his waistline, right there. Okay, let's put him wearing shorts. So let's make some elastic, huh? That's elastic. Okay, now shorts. And now for this thigh, knee, and down. Let's thicken it up, go over it. Okay, now let's put his socks in. Now his foot would be sort of pointing up, ready to go down, make contact with the ground, so let's put his running shoe in there. Let's put a little zigzag line there for his running shoe. Now here's his other leg back here. Here's his shorts. Let's make this line a little heavier. And here's his other leg, all the way back, his calf, socks, and his other shoe. Laces. Okay, he's running. Now let's do things to this to make it really run off the page. Okay, let's put the ground line in. That'd be down here. Already makes him look like he's going faster because he's off the ground. Let's put a shadow in down here. Now let's put some speed lines in, like this. some lines like that, and some smoke. Dust. Some more smoke here. Again, some perspiration. Some movement in his eyes. And he's running. Now let's add one more element to this, a couple more elements to this to make it like expressing a funny idea. Okay, he's running a race, so let's put in the words finish line. Okay, but watch this. Have him running the wrong way, and over here we can put another fellow over here with his eyes at half mast, eyebrows up. Here's a nose looking at us. Let's give him a hat, like he's the coach. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do a guy swinging a baseball bat. Okay, again, start with the shape. Here's his head. Another shape for his body. Let's have him looking straight at us and have his legs sort of in a squatting motion. And now his arms would be, if he's facing this way, his arms would be this way because he just swung the bat around. So let's have his arms like that, the other one like that, a couple of shapes for the hands. Okay, now let's go back over this, put some details in, put some shapes for his feet. Okay, he's looking this way. Let's put his nose in, smiling. This time let's have his eyes closed because he just swung the bat and he's happy about that. Let's put a hat on his head. Little beanie. Here's the brim. Okay, let's put his chin in. Okay, now we know he's facing this way and the swing was this way, so let's put his shoulders in as before. Thicken it up. Let's put a sleeve in. One hand, other hand, other shoulder. Now let's draw the bat in. Okay, now let's do his body again. Let's put a line in for his waist. Let's make his torso. And there we have it. Now we're just going to put his legs in like this. And double that. Now if he's wearing a baseball outfit, let's have his pants sort of bloused at the bottom. High socks. Shoes. Some shadows. Spikes. There it is. Well, let's put some lines in there to indicate a swing. And a point of impact, let's make a sound effect. Pow. And then the ball would be going off the screen like that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Now a good way to practice action drawings would be to just draw from life. Have your friends post for you, or watch TV, watch a basketball game, or even go to a game live and bring your sketch pad. Just sketch away. Now finishing these drawings isn't what's important. What is important is just get yourself used to seeing that line of action. What happens to the human form when it's in motion? Now let's see. We've covered heads, features and expressions, action drawings, cartoon effects and accessories. Let's move on now to my favorite area of cartooning, animals.
Cartoonists love to draw animals because they go everywhere and they lend themselves to humor so easily. I mean, it's funny to see an animal in a human situation thinking or speaking. And to draw animals is really simple. It's really just a matter of utilizing the same steps and techniques that we used for the cartoon face. Let's draw a dog and I'll show you. We start with a shape. And another shape back here. Now let's just go over that. Let's put in a nose. Now on a dog it's going to be different than a human. Big circle. Make this black. Leave that white space there for a highlight. Okay, now let's put in eyes, same as before. Although you can draw your eyes any way you want. And a mouth. And his tongue coming out. Now that's basically it for the outline. Now let's just go back and make it more dogified. Let's make him a shaggy dog. Let's put some hair on the top and let's give him floppy ears. His other ear back there. That's basically it. Let's draw another one. This time let's draw a lion. Have him looking straight at us. I'll start with a shape and another shape for his face. Now let's go back and put the features in, same as before. Put some eyes in. Eyebrows. Now his nose would also be different. Mouth. His chin. Let's give him some whiskers. Now let's put a shape for his head. And now he's got ears like this. Now let's make him like a male lion with a mane. And that's it. That's how you draw a lion. Let's do a couple quickies now. For instance, to draw a fish is nothing more than a diamond shape like that with a triangle in the back. Let's put an eye in the middle. Let's make him smiling. Put in a fin. Some of that. Let's blacken this. A couple bubbles. Some motion lines for his fins. That's how you draw a fish. Now let's draw a snake. Okay, his face would be like long, little nostrils like that. Let's give him a sinister smile. And some eyes, like that. Now for his body, it's nothing more than some loose, squiggly lines. And go back over what you've just done. Put a ground line in, like little shadows. Let's put his tongue in. You could put some spots on him. Put his rattle on, if it's a rattlesnake. Have it shake. You'd even put a sound effect in there if you wanted to. Or you can even have this. Okay, it's obvious we can't draw all of the different kind of animals that there are. But a good way for you to practice would be to clip out of a magazine or some books some pictures of animals, and just like we did with features and expressions, just reduce what you see down into cartoon-style lines. Simplify and humorize. It may be a good idea to even start what cartoonists call an art morgue, which is a collection of photographs from pictures of animals to athletic events, houses. And a good way to start your art morgue would be to get yourself a catalog from a major department store, because in that you have pictures of hammers, lawnmowers, beds, everything. Okay, let's do another picture here. And this time we're going to introduce something new. Okay, this time we're going to draw a dog again, but this time we're going to have him running. Let's put some lines in. Remember, like before, his legs, front legs will be out forward, his back legs will be like that. and his tail. Now let's go over this and put some features in. Remember the nose, a little shine, eyes, mouth, and tongue. Ears flying in the wind because he's running. Now let's do his body. Let's do his legs. Belly, his back legs, and his tail. Okay, we have the dog there. Now let's put in some backgrounds. Now, when you're doing backgrounds, let's put some shadow there and some speed lines. You don't want to take away from your main character, so you want to keep it as simple as you possibly can. Let's put some ground in. Stagger that line a little bit because it's grass, he's outside. Now let's put some trees, which is a line like that. Put the roots, a knothole, some lines like that, and some leaves. And in the foreground, let's put some bushes, which we draw like that. In the background, let's put some more bushes. Now, these lines that we drew like that in the background will be smaller. Some more over here. This indicates a little bit of some grass. And you can even put a mountain in, real lightly. And let's put the sky in. Let's put some clouds. And that's all I'm going to do, because you want the main character to stick out. Okay, now let's do another one. Okay, this time we have a secretary typing away. Now let's put her in an office setting. Okay, she's already got the typewriter here. Let's put the desk in. Not too much detail. Keep it simple. Let's have some papers flying. Now let's put in a horizon line in the back. That's the floor. Now let's give her some props. She might have a file cabinet next to her, like this. And a vase. Let's put one flower in it. Makes it funnier. It's a cartoon. Sort of drooping. Okay, now how about a door? I'm also not making my lines as dark as I was before on the main character, because it's in the background. Now there might be a tile floor, and let's make it like this. See how the lines come forward, sort of making perspective. It sort of brings you into the picture that way. Now over here, let's give her a picture window. Now in the window, let's put the view of the city, which we do like that. We can make it three-dimensionalized by adding a little shadowing. Put some windows. You don't want to go too wild on this because it's going to take away. Put some sky in, and that's basically it. Now that would be an office setting. Okay, let's do another outdoor scene. This time, a football field. Okay, we've got a fellow running for a pass. Now let's put the ground line in. Let's put some shadowing because he's running. Some speed lines again. Now this time we're not going to have it so on the same plane like we did with the office and the other outdoor scene. We're going to put some perspective in it. Now these are the grandstands. See how it goes up on an angle like that? Bringing you into the distance. See, this is the far end. These are the seats. Some banners, flags. And people in the far away would just be dots. And closer in the foreground, there'd be more like circles. But you don't have to draw every person, obviously. but you can just suggest it. People up here on the cheap seats would also be dots. And like that. Now let's put some lines in for the football field. Even put the goalpost in. And some sky. Now a good way to practice backgrounds is to just plain have your sketch pad with you all the time. When you go to the shopping mall or even drawing in your own living room, just get in the habit of always sketching. Now when you're drawing, say, in your living room and you need things like props because you want to add these to some of your pictures, all you do when you draw props is just to reduce it down to its basic elements. Like let's draw something you see every day like a computer. Now this could do for the screen. Let's put a little thickness in it. That's all you would need for the screen. Now for the keyboard, it's like a rectangle. For the keys, you can just suggest a few circles or squares, whatever you want, and that would take it. And a little squiggly line for the wire connecting it. That could be a computer. Let's do something else you see every day. How about a coffee pot? So that could be, let's make it crooked. And let's put the spout right there. And the base. You don't want to start with too much detail. Here's a handle. Let's have the lid flying off. Maybe some steam coming out. Even some coffee dripping out, make that black. The lines looking like it's coming off. How about the cord if it's an electric percolator? And that could be the way you would draw that. Now how about a chair, an easy chair? Make it real soft looking. Pillow, the other arm, buttons. That would do fine for a chair and for a lamp next to it. All you have to do is look around your own house. There's plenty of things to practice on. Let's put some fringe on the lampshade. Okay, now do you remember before when I said to you that anything's possible in the world of cartooning? Well, let's go back and have some fun. Let's take these objects that we've already drawn and put some life into them. Put eyes, nose, mouth, right into that chair. Make them come alive. Same thing with the lamp. Let's make the lamp a girl. Nose, lipstick. See, you can even do that. Let's have them in love. Inanimate objects coming to life. Let's go back and do the coffee pot. Okay, let's look on the object and see what might be used for the nose. It's already there, like his spout. Put some eyes around that. Let's have him wincing. Let's put his eyes squinting like that. How about have his mouth like that, like it's so hot he can't stand it. See, we've added life. Let's do the computer. Same thing, we'll just do the same features. Let's have him looking smart and smug. Let's have him thinking of something smart. E equals MC squared. Thinking. Now, a cartoon like this could easily be used for an advertisement for a computer store. Well, that's about it for the basics of drawing cartoons. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've covered a lot of ground. The rest, well, that's up to you. But the more you practice, the more you'll develop your own style and technique for drawing cartoons. And when you practice, make sure you practice everything, and not just what comes easiest to you. For example, if you have trouble drawing, say, cartoon hands or action drawings, focus in and work on that. Remember this, if you even have a little talent and you practice hard, you'll do much better than a lazy person with tons of talent. I'm Bruce Blitz saying, keep on cartooning.